Hi everyone, Brian from Bear Traders. It's the weekend, it's March the 12th, and of course this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened over the last week. We had another down week in the markets, all the indexes down. That's probably a fifth week in a row we've had that, and of course we've got war going on in Europe, tragic situation there, and of course it's exasperating some inflation that we've already seen. So we'll talk a bit about that and take a look at what we've got coming down next week. Of course, we've got a really big week coming up with Fed coming out on Wednesday with their rate hike decision, and of course some commentary on where they think things may be going here in the future, which I think is going to be watched by pretty much everybody. So let's get down to it. All right, so let's take a look at last week's action. Of course, the Russia-Ukraine situation still very much in focus, and with the sanctions that are being applied to Russia has had a big impact on energy prices, agriculture, and commodities, as Russia has been a big exporter of these and already adding to some of the inflation concerns that we've been seeing with supply chain complaints or constraints, etc. So certainly making the decision the Fed has a little bit more complicated, no doubt. And as far as the indexes go, of course, as I mentioned already, we have a pretty big drop here. And sort of reoccurring theme, technology seems to be taking the worst of the brunt, and the small caps, the IWM, seems to be holding up the best, and we'll see that in the charts in a minute. So areas of strength and weakness, energy was the only green sector on the week. Utilities was down, but it was the next best performer. And even energy was down as we got into the latter part of the week. It seemed to get really overbought, so even that pulled back by the end of the week. Consumer staples and technology obviously were the weakest, although consumer staples a little bit surprised at. Usually that's a safety trade along with utilities, but consumer staples did take a bit of a beating this week, and it might be in just some profit taking because they've been up a lot over the last couple of weeks. The 10-year Treasury note, we're back at 2% after pulling back during the week, quite a volatile week in the yields, and the 2 years at 1.75, and the two of them are sort of getting closer and closer together there. And the US dollar, again, another volatile week for it as well, pulled back midweek, but then we saw strength at the end of the week again as the dollar was the safety trade. And before we get looking at some charts here, just a quick ad for my book on Amazon, How to Swing Trade, if you haven't checked it out yet. Rules, routines, and strategies of a swing trader that I use. So let's start looking at some of the indexes. We'll start out with the treasuries, as we always do, because they are the bigger market. And you can see here this 2-year treasury bill yield has just been on a steady rocket climb here, and we're up at 1.75. We've been overbought for a long time on the RSI. This just illustrates this RSI doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a significant pullback. You can continue to be overbought for a very long time if the trend is continuing to go higher or lower, as the case may be. But you can see here how volatile things were on the 10-year. We had this big pullback on Thursday, and then a real pop back here, I should say last week, real pullback last week, and then this big pop up this week. So we're back up to 2% on the Treasury and probably going higher. But again, it's going to be another volatile week coming up here. The transports, we really are just sort of stuck in a range here by the looks of things. Here's your range, and again we had a couple good days, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a pullback on Friday. Some of the transport companies have been doing fairly well, like the rails. And again here we're just we're stuck in a bit of a range here. There was more selling, I guess, on Friday, but again not a no significant move one way or another on price. And the Dow, we seem to be again sort of stuck in a range here. I'm almost seeing a pennant. I'll just show you that here. You can kind of see, we draw another line here, and then draw a line here. You can see how this volatility is kind of coming into it's coming into a very narrow range, and we're going to either break out or a breakdown, one or the other. And I guess we'll see. We've had a lot of selling. Again, the selling on Friday was a little bit more muted. So it's possible we could get a bit of a rally here coming up. Maybe we'll get, like we had last week, we had a big down day on Monday, and then we had the what we called the turnaround Tuesday. So again, maybe another rip your face off rally in the midst of things here. But you can kind of see MACD is starting to, histogram is starting to move up again. Stochastics are starting to move here again. And so maybe momentum could be shifting back upwards for a bit of a pop. Again, the Dow, on a weekly, we are still in a downtrend. And, you know, this 33,000 level was an area I was kind of watching. We just gave it up on Friday. Some pretty hard selling into the close on Friday. And took us below that 33,000 level. The Qs, again, you can kind of make an argument here. There's a bit of a pennant going on. Although this line, this bottom line here is a little bit flatter. But again, just we are at sort of a critical area here. Again, this February low is really, you know, a lot of people are saying this won't go. This is the low that was set, and we should hold there. So that'll be a real test if we get down to that level. This level here, which is about 318 on the Qs. The SPY, again, you can kind of make the same argument. I don't want to keep repeating myself here, but again, we're kind of forming a bit of a pennant here where we're getting less and less sort of volatility moves. So again, keeping an eye on those trend lines and seeing which way we are going to break. But on a weekly basis, we are still trending lower, and the volume has been a little elevated on a weekly basis. The IWM, again, the IWM seems to be holding up the best. You can see we're kind of just chopping in a range like we chopped in a range pretty much all through 2021. We're now in a bit of a range here. Again, you can kind of see this ascending triangle. We do seem to be trading into a bit of a narrowing range, and we'll see which way things break. But you can see here the stochastics are above 50. MACD is really just kind of flattening out here. RSI maybe rolling over a little bit, but again, we just seem to be kind of stuck in a range here on the IWM, and we could be range bound for quite a long time. You can see here how we traded through 2021, very range bound. So lots of cross currents. The economy seems to be fairly strong right now. But energy prices, everything, all prices are rising, and you know we could be heading into a bit of a recession if things continue. And the VIX, again, you know, we aren't breaking out to new highs here. We are a little elevated. We did go higher on the at the end of the day there on Friday, but you can see here stochastics are turning down. MACD is dropping. RSI is back down to 50. So you know, this kind of might support things that maybe we're going to get in for a little bit of a bounce next week, and we'll see what happens there. Again, you can see here, this is the dollar. The dollar's really been volatile. This is the dollar index. You can see here we started out Monday, Tuesday, up near this high, really pulled back hard on Wednesday, and then we just came right back up Thursday. So real volatile price action on the currencies. Bitcoin had this nice little pop up here, and now has settled back down into a range. And again, there's kind of a trend line here. You know, maybe supporting this move higher. So again, it doesn't, you know, really lost everything it gained after that move up on some promise maybe that there was going to be some use of Bitcoin by various parties, and then of course the U.S. government came out with some positive comments on regulating the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but I think that was short-lived because they realized they were just, while the comments were positive, it was going to be probably more than a year before anything really of substance was going to happen there. So let's go through some things I'm watching next week. Here we've got Apple. I think Apple's kind of looking interesting here. Here's your 200-day moving average. Also, that kind of corresponds with this level here where we broke out from. And I think that if we do get a bit of a pullback Monday, some more selling, keep an eye on this sort of 153 level. Might be a good place to pick up some shares. And then if we do get this turnaround Tuesday, maybe anticipating a bit of a buy, possibly could get a really nice bounce on that one for a day or so. But right now it's looking like it's heading lower here, but this should be an area where we should see some support. Amazon obviously had this big gap up. They announced their 20-for-1 stock split on Wednesday night. And you can see here, I still think we've got now we have sort of established a 27.50 low here that I think will probably maintain or hold at that level. I don't think with this split coming up, I don't think people will be inclined to sell it below that. I do think there's going to be a ceiling on it at 3,200, so could set up for a nice call or put sale if you wanted to sell some puts at 27.50, and think it would probably hold that level, and you could just collect the premium, or you might end up having to take some shares, but I still think it's probably a pretty safe a bet, as safe as can be here in this market. CCJ is one stock that I've gotten involved in here last week. Uranium is back in the news. Of course, a lot of people are looking at uranium as an energy alternative, whereas about a month or two ago wasn't being considered. A lot of plants where they were considering shutting down even, and now it's become a hot commodity again, and the price of uranium is going up. Russia's been a big exporter of uranium in the past, and so of course uranium price is going up too, and I think that this is going to be sort of a go-to energy source in the future. So I think there's a lot of potential for upside here. I've got another way to play that in a minute. PayPal, again, just can't seem to break out here, but it does look like it's sort of established sort of a floor around $93. It did stall out here at 100, so again, could be a possible trade here for put sale down here, call sale up here. You can see we are starting to turn on the stochastics. RSI is starting to break out here, so I think PayPal could be good for a bounce, especially if we get some buying. Roku has just been horrible. It's back down testing this February low, 102.60. We are pretty close to that. We're only about $1.20 away from that right now. But again, just cannot get out of its own way. So I would say any pop could be sold. Seed, here's an agriculture play. This is actually a monthly chart, so I'm just showing you how potential for this to go higher. It's just over $10 right now, but it could easily go back up to this sort of 20 level with the way agriculture prices are coming up or starting, and you can see here stochastics starting to turn to the upside. So I'm liking this seed trade. Relatively cheap way to play the increase in agriculture commodity prices. Deer is another one, actually. Deer, I'll take a look at that chart in a sec. Silver, I've been playing silver and gold. We did get this big blow off sort of top here. We had the same thing on gold sort of beginning of the week, and we have pulled back here. We have pulled back to this area where we kind of broke out from, and I suspect we may be going higher here after this pullback. You can see the volume on this pullback really tapering off again, which might indicate that we are getting ready to take another leg higher here. Square, again, we're kind of talked about pennants here. You can see there's a bit of a pennant forming on Square, trying to figure out which direction it's going. So I would keep an eye on these trend lines and see which direction we take in the coming days. Tesla, again, Tesla's struggling here. It's in a downtrend, and again, bit of a pennant here. There's a lot more room to the downside. This 900 level again seems to be resistance. There's resistance here, and I had some calls that I had sold last week, and they expired worthless at the end of the week here, and I just kept the premium on that. Happy with that trade. Here's uranium, global uranium. This is another way to play the uranium maybe the aluminum sector. And you can see here we still have a lot of room to the upside. It's been a little volatile. You could get a bit of a pullback here to 25 and still could go higher. With this pullback on Friday was fairly low volume. You can see we had some pretty big up days. So you can see I think uranium still has some room to run here. Again, I spoke about how we really had this big indecision candle when Tuesday on energy when it really spiked up on some of the news about sanctions on the USSR or the Russian energy sector, and really had the big spike. And then of course we got this big pullback, but you know, it's still going to be, there is no short-term fix for some of this the energy concerns here. So I suspect that we are going to probably find a level of support. You can see here big volume days, and then we've really dropped off on the volume. So I think we're at least going to be holding this range. I don't believe Kathy Wood when she said she thinks this is going to go back to $12. Can't see that anytime soon. So again, electric grid, WCC, I missed kind of this pullback. Kind of got worried when it dropped so much, but you can see it came right back up again. It's a real nice stock to trade off levels. And again, I wouldn't be buying it here, but I'd be looking for another pullback on it. And shippers have been really strong. You can see here we had this on Zim, we had a breakout. The only problem with Zim, you can see here it's quite volatile. You get these long tails, so you get to almost use an alert and bite the bullet and get in. And it's still in this nice uptrend, even though it does have these pretty significant pullbacks. Big volume day Friday, and so you can look at some of the shippers as well. Okay, so just wrapping things up here, what do we got to watch next week? You can see the Dow, I had mentioned 33,000 was looking like support. We kind of just lost that. It dipped down a little bit. Support's just a little lower. It's the February low, but we are in a bit of a pennant there, so you can watch the trend line on that as well. The Qs support at 320. February low is 318. And again, supply at support here at 420. Next level, if we do go down and test this February low, is 410. The IWM, like as I said, it just seems to be holding up the best. Support really hasn't changed much. 195 or 197 now. We just seem to be in a bit of a range there on the IWM. So what's on coming up next week? Of course, lots of focus on the Fed meeting coming up Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, Russia-Ukraine situation, I don't expect anything to change significantly on that. It's just an ongoing terrible situation. Unfortunately, I don't see an end to it in the near term. And on Monday for earnings, we do have some earnings, although we are through the bulk of the main earnings season with the high-profile companies. We do have Ballard Power before the market open on Monday, Coupa after the market close, and that's AMC is after the market close, not the stock ticker symbol. Tuesday, really nothing of note. Wednesday, we do have Lennar, one of the home builders, after the market close. Thursday, we've got Dollar General, Hut 8, which is a Bitcoin mining company, and FedEx. FedEx is probably going to be one of the more interesting earnings reports, but that's on Thursday, and of course GME. Always a fan favorite with the Reddit crowd in the past. So we'll see what FedEx has to say, because this is obviously a big transporter, and transports do play a big role in the economy. So that's it, everybody. I hope you had a good week. It was volatile. There were lots of trading opportunities, and that's probably going to be the situation next week. So just keep a tight stop on things, and join us on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll be starting on the pre-market show live on YouTube at 8 o'clock again, and then pre-market show with Norm, Carlos, and the other gang until we get to the open at 9:30. And of course, our members will be with us trading the market open. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't forget, turn your clocks ahead. We're going to lose an hour this week, unfortunately, but spring forward. We'll talk to you all hopefully on Monday morning. Bye for now.